Hello, folks. Are you wondering how early you should pin New Year's content? Does it really matter what day and time you pin? Is it still okay to share a pin to every relevant board? Well, you know, Pinterest marketing is so much easier when you have all the answers. And luckily we have Elisa here to do that for us today. But we got some time-saving tips for you as well. Hello, folks. I'm Jeff C. of Manly Pinterest Tips, and we are so excited to have you with us today. I'm here with always the lovely and super smart Elisa Meredith, the content marketing manager at Tailwind. And will you do us a favor?
Hello.
Will you light up the love below and click on the SHARE button and cast the goodness that is Tailwind far and wide across the interwebs. We really appreciate it. And as always, make sure that you add your comments and your questions down below, and we'll pull in as many as we can. And as we're going along, especially Elisa, because she does it all the time, if we drop any of these super smart nuggets, write out that nugget of information, put hashtag Tailwind tips, and you can be entered to win this awesome Tailwind selfie light that we give out at the end of the show. So make sure you do that as we're going along today. Any little nuggets, put hashtag Tailwind tips so we can find those easier and be entered in the drawing. Also, I don't want to forget our special download for today. Each month, you'll see what people are searching, what you can promote, as well as small effort, big impact changes and tactics you can add to your routine, plus content planning tips to make Pinterest work better and move your business forward faster. This is going to be updated as we speak, and you'll be the first to get the 2020 version if you go to bit.ly/Pin Planner Unleashed. It's all lowercase. You changed it on me. I like that one. I like that. It's pretty cool. So go to bit.ly/Pin Planner Unleashed.
Yeah,
very, very
Jeff,
cool.
I'm trying to make the bit.ly links a little less painful for you.
I like that one. And it's all lowercase, all smashed together for you guys listening on the podcast. It's bit.ly/Pin Planner Unleashed. So
yeah,
Elisa,
and you'll get
today.
hey, it's good to see you too, Jeff.
It's been a while.
Hey, did your beard grow another 3 inches since
I
last
actually just
show?
trimmed it, so I actually cut off
you?
a couple inches. I did, yeah.
Isn't that funny how that works? Well, it looks
I know.
good. It's looking
Thank
good.
you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so that with that Pin Planner, you'll actually get the 2019 version now, which, there are still 2 months left, but we are working on the 2020, and it is going to be so good.
Yeah, so they put a lot of work into this. So make sure that you go and download that and get ready for the new year, because as you know, stuff happens a lot earlier on Pinterest than it seems like. Even Walmart, they're pulling out, Christmas stuff, and it's not even Halloween yet. But you kind of need to get going on Pinterest early as well. So make sure you go download that planner. So we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today.
We do.
We did want to talk about some news, and the one I wanted to highlight is I really like, and I would love to know down below if you guys have tried this out. I really love the dark mode on Pinterest. I know I'm a nerd, but man, I think it makes the pins pop. It looks really cool. It saves your battery. I want to know if anybody else is using it, because I really like it. And what about you, Lisa? Have you played with it at all?
I tried to turn it on when it first came out, and I couldn't get it to work. So
what do you mean you tried?
I don't know.
You broke it? What do you mean you try to turn it on?
No, there's some kind of setting on your iPhone that to make it go to the dark mode, and I tried it. It didn't work, but I'm really not a tech person. I know you find this really hard to believe.
Yes, that is really hard. Yeah, I'll give you that one. So, but if you guys have tried it, let us know, because I think it's very, very cool. It's kind of fun. It looks good. I want to say hi to Martin from the Netherlands. He gets 10 points for actually being from the Netherlands. We'll give you that, because here at Tailwind, everything's made up and the points don't matter. Just like on whose line is it anyway? But I want to give a highlight to Martin. He's been a faithful friend to Tailwind.
Yeah. I hear he's a really good cook too, by the way.
Yeah, and Sally Howe. Sally is from, I know she's from the UK. I think she's around the London area. Very, very cool.
Sally.
She loves dark mode too. Thanks, Sally, for showing up.
Well, maybe Sally will tell me how to turn it on.
Yeah, yes. Why don't you DM Lisa, because she doesn't know what she's doing and she needs all the help
I
she can.
don't. I could swear I've seen it, but I just went to it now and it's not dark mode. So
I just think it's cool. I think it's really good. And I wanted to pull up this. Sally says, Tailwind tip,
Aw.
listen to their weekly podcast. Extra
Yes.
points for you, Sally, for saying that. That is very, very cool. That podcast is growing. So if you happen to miss the live show, make sure you go over to your favorite podcast program like Spotify or iTunes or any of those. We're on there, and sign up so you can get us downloads. And we love it if you leave a review for us over there, because that helps get the word out. Sign up and to get the downloads every week in case you missed the live show. We thank you. Thanks, Sally, for that.
Jeff, what's the easiest way to find that podcast?
Just search
right now?
Tailwind in
Just
any of your just search
Yeah.
for Tailwind. We should come up right away, and you can subscribe to it that way. It's cool. You can even listen to it on Spotify, which is kind of cool now. So we'd love it to do.
Nice.
So Carrie has a question, and we'll get to this, but I wanted to pull this up. She goes, "Any chance we can touch on Smart Loop today?" Your wish
there's a chance.
is our yes. We are going to do that today. We'll be talking all about Smart Loop and some other things, and so let's dive right into it. So we're going to get into scheduling, because that's what all Tailwind's all about, really. I mean, to be honest, that was one of the things that drove me over there, is because no matter how much we love Pinterest, we can't be on it all day. Most people.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think, the kind of a big picture question is, what should I be pinning now, this week, today? And can you guess? Can anybody want to guess what we should be pinning right now?
What is it, back to school? I don't know.
Jeff?
Oh, that early?
Back to school. No, we're late for back to school, Jeff.
Okay.
We're late.
Yeah, a little
we're
bit
late
late
for that. Yeah. Well, it's about too late for Halloween. I'll give you that hint.
It is too late. Yes, very.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next?
I would say Christmas, but I still think it's too late for Christmas.
It's not.
Okay.
So I'm going kind of by the Pinterest seasonal insights calendar, which we can share in the comments if you want to drop that in there. But right now, we're winding down on Halloween, obviously. So Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and then the winter holidays, like Christmas and whatever else there is. Plus, we're into New Year's as well, which it's funny. All of these started back in June.
Right.
So you haven't missed out. I feel like there's still time. You can still, with good content, and probably using hashtags as well to get that new content out there quicker. But that's what people are really looking for right now.
Yeah, and so let's see. Carol Lee says she thinks Black Friday, and I know that's huge on Pinterest. Like, people who are selling things for Black Friday, their sales, that is really big. I mean, they usually report, every year they've gone up in e-commerce sales on Black Friday, and it's pretty exciting over on Pinterest.
Yeah, it is. It is. And then the Possibilities Planner gives us some kind of cool ideas for some search terms that are popular right now, like mashed potatoes, turkey recipes, Thanksgiving appetizers. And those are things that, the turkey recipes and mashed potatoes, those might be things that you hadn't really thought about as being seasonal. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have a really great garlic mashed potatoes recipe, but could you kind of rebrand it for Thanksgiving time? Just for this time of year, what people are looking for, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So something that's we kind of noticed, and it's just a small observation, that over the summer, the pins that we shared that were pink did really, really well. The one that we have that's at the top right now as far as clicks is orange. And so we're wondering, is there a seasonal connection between which colors are doing well on Pinterest? So we're kind of testing that theory out, because I think there very well could be, because people on Pinterest are so much in that mindset of the seasonality of the events that are coming up that we're definitely trying that. So if you have those kinds of things, if you have ideas for dinner parties, could you kind of rebrand that for Friendsgiving, right? Where people get together and have a meal together this time of year. There's a lot of travel going on this time of year as well. So so that kind of content, people are having guests over right now. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to the last show with Kara Chase, she talked a lot about seasonal content, even if you're not a product seller or a DIY person, because the angles that you can put on your content can make them pop in any season, really, if you just get a little bit creative. But yeah, she had some great ideas too.
Yeah, and I would also one of the things I would love to ask our audience and let us know if you found any like colors and seasonality correlation that you have done when you have been doing a lot of your pinnings. Is something really working for you? I'd love to know what you guys have found. Like
Me
it's like,
too.
oh yeah, pink's working for you. Well, this color is working for me. So we would love to know that if you could let us know down below. Also, one of the things that I know Kara touched on in the last episode that we talked to with her on is when we are doing these, you never know what's going to really resonate with your audience. And we keep harping on this, make multiple pins for stuff. So even with this seasonality, when you're talking about like taking those, your garlic potato recipe and kind of making it Christmassy, we'll try multiple versions of that. Try, maybe having a text overlay this way, or maybe this font, or even a color border or whatever. Try those different things and see what really works for you. And don't be afraid to make multiple pins for the same piece of content that has given you some legs before.
Yeah, and I wonder how with the dark mode, if certain technologically inclined people are using that, if it might be useful, it might be useful as well to have a little bit of a white margin around everything,
Yeah.
if that might stand out a bit
It
more.
depends on how many people do it. Some people may not even
Yeah.
know about it, or can't get it to work like some other people. But
But it still would look good.
yeah, so I mean, it's kind of like video pins. What's working on video pins? What's popping over there? So yeah,
Yeah.
um, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, holiday stuff or what people are doing around the holidays. Like we said, travel, kids are off from school. They're probably cooking a lot. They're having company. Yeah, a little extra time off from work, maybe. Like,
hmm
what is it that you do or you offer that can fit into that time? And then, of course, preparation for New Year's as well, which doesn't have to be all that super obvious stuff about New Year's resolutions, but it can be more about getting organized or like looking at how your career is going. Anything like that fits into that kind of mindset of that time of year.
hmm And I think it's easy to try to, you can easily. So, for example, I had an article that was about uh, the one it wasn't had anything to do with Halloween, but I was able to make a video pin with it, and I showed this to you yesterday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With a that still had a Halloween theme that still would fit into it that way. So it's
You should share
you.
that.
Yeah, I should. Maybe I will.
You
Maybe
should.
I will.
Okay.
But
Cool.
so thinking of some ways that just like your garlic. I think what you're really onto something with taking something that has gotten you legs before and great piece of content. Maybe it's not necessarily Christmas, but it still fits inside of Christmas. Some of your gift guides that you may have done for Father's Day, like a Father's Day tech roundup or something like that, would also be a Christmas guide. So don't forget things that you can repurpose by just creating a new image and putting it out there that's seasonality.
Yeah, and I think that brings up another interesting point. For I don't even celebrate the holidays, but I'm still attracted to seasonal things, right? So whereas in the summertime, I might see like a chicken pot pie recipe and it would look just terrible, right?
Right.
But now is more like comfort food kind of season. And then so if you originally had taken a picture of your casserole on a summer picnic tablecloth, can you now reshoot that with like
Right.
fall colors or winter colors? Just it's so funny to me how Pinterest like gets into your head. Like
hmm
the psychology of it is really super interesting to me. And if you just think for a minute about what appeals to me right now, then you can probably make it appeal on Pinterest as well.
Yeah. So I want to bring up some questions that we're getting
Yeah.
really quick from. This is from. Let's see here. Let me hit the wrong button. There we go.
Cool.
Jacqueline says, if you make multiple pins for one piece of content, can you pin it to the same boards? Which I think is a great question. So,
Yes, please.
yeah, just probably not all at once, right? That's what we're going to be
Right.
talking about today.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially like if you're in Tailwind tribes, right? You want to spread it out so people, and the same thing on Pinterest as well. You want them to see it once and then see it a little bit differently the next time. They might even think it's a totally different piece of content, which is fine. Like as long as you're delivering on what you're promising on the pin, that's completely fine. You're just trying to find what appeals to a person, what inspires them to engage with it. So yeah, I'm thrilled to hear that people are doing that.
Yeah, and here's another one from Martin. He goes, and I think he knows the answer. I think he's just giving us a softball here. He goes, if your business is not into food or travel, should you still make boards with that content? I mean, your followers won't understand that, right? What would you say to that?
I would say that your followers don't care. Like, right?
They really don't.
They really don't. They're not looking and saying, oh, what is Martin doing? Pinning that jack-o'-lantern. That's so not like him. No, what they're doing is they're searching on Pinterest and then they're happening upon your content. So the thing is, though, if you're attracting the wrong kind of followers, like if you're saving travel tips and your business has nothing to do with travel, then you're going to attract all these followers who are interested in travel. And then when you pin the stuff you really care about, like the content that goes to your website, they won't engage with that. And that's going to hurt you because Pinterest sees, oh, Martin's followers should know what's engaging. They're not responding. This is not good content. This is something I have admitted to many times that I have done to myself with too much experimentation on my personal Pinterest account, which went personal, business, personal, combination, business.
Right.
And I attracted all these people who really wanted to see my keto recipes, but didn't care at all about my Pinterest advertising pins, right? So my Pinterest advertising pins come out and I've spent hours and hours on this blog post. Nobody cares. Pinterest sees that as, oh, this is terrible content, but oh, that keto casserole, we're going to share that. If that does me no good whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. So Nikki asked this question. She goes, how many pins are too many pins on your Pinterest? And this is a great question because we're talking about scheduling. And so let's wrap this into the scheduling aspect of that. How many pins are too many for me to schedule? I mean, what if I'm pinning, like, do I want to pin every hour, every day? How do I figure that out?
Well, technically a business account does not have a limit. Personal accounts do have a limit for how many total pins you can have on your account, but I think like what you were getting at, and perhaps what Nikki is getting at as well, is how much is too much per day. I mean, Pinterest says pin consistently. Create new content at least once a week. At least once a week. That would be the bare minimum. If you're off Pinterest for over a week, I mean, that leads us to believe that they're saying you're not consistent. And I've heard of people who've let their accounts go dormant for a long time who have a hard time bringing them back because they haven't been consistent. Okay, so just pin consistently. Whatever that means for you, I would say at this point, less is probably more. Because if you're sending out 100 pins per day, I mean, Pinterest isn't going to show them all to your followers anyway. So you're missing out on that opportunity. But what is that content and what is it doing for you? So you got to have a good reason to share. It's not to say you can never share anyone else's content. We all like to support each other. And maybe you're curating a resource for people, although that's kind of less of a thing now. But I don't know. I mean, if you're pinning a couple times a day and it's really great content, you could do just as well as if you're pinning 30 to 50 times a day.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it also depends on how much content you have. Like, so some of the clients I work with, some big companies, for example, Kim Garst, I help run her account. And so she's got
we approve of name dropping here.
Yeah. So Kim has tons of great content. She's got tons of great images. So I'm able to pin a lot more of her stuff to a lot different boards, and I'm not worried about being banned or anything and she also pins other people's content as well. So her schedule inside of Tribes would probably, inside of Tailwind would probably freak a lot of people out, but you do not have to do that. She has that much content that she can do that with. Myself, I can't do that. And so my account looks way different than Kim Garst or even some other companies that I run's account. So it depends on how much content you have. So, and I share a lot of other people's content because I want to support them. I share a lot of Lisa's stuff. We're in Tribes together and with some other people, and we, I can trust their content. We share that stuff out because they share mine out. So that's how that kind of works. And so it does depend on, how much content you have, how big your audience is, all sorts of things. So don't worry about it, is what I'm saying.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, you're right.
There's a great comment too. I want to bring it up from this will move us to the next section. James asked this. He goes, what time and day is the best time to pin? Oh, that's a good one. Luckily, we have an
Oh,
answer for that.
yes, we do. So when you use Tailwind, like shameless plug here, but it's our show, so we're allowed. There's something called Smart Schedule, which analyzes when your particular followers are most likely to be on and engaged with the platform, and suggests those times for your pins to go out. So yeah, I mean, if you can get your pins to show up in their home feed or in their following tab when they happen to be on, increases chances for engagement from your followers. Great signal to Pinterest that this is good traffic. But the other thing is, people aren't just going in and looking follower tab and their home feed, although those are fun. They're doing a lot in search. So rather than being super concerned about, okay, 5 o'clock on a Monday is good for recipe pins, which used to be really the case. We could see that. Now it's more about making them good for the long term.
That's great.
So like the Smart Schedule is still a really good thing. And I feel like any little advantage you can take, do it.
Right.
Yeah, but think more about seasonality and leaning into those moments. So, I mean, we talked about what you should be pinning now, but if you feel like, I'd rather plan ahead. Well, good. That's excellent.
Right.
We should always plan ahead. So let's talk up for a minute about what content we should be creating. So right now, like starting in January or so, because right now it was just all about the holidays, and then they completely fall off the map, completely. And then what starts to ramp up is Super Bowl. But of course, you never want to use that word in your pins. You want to call it the big game. So anything that you have about get-togethers, about like nacho recipes or games you can play together, gifts for people who love football, anything like that, get that ready for big game season. Similar thing with Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and Easter already. Easter has a really long shelf life on Pinterest for whatever reason. Kind of similar to St. Patrick's Day, which I wouldn't have thought would be such a very big deal, but it is.
Cool.
So get those ready. So
that's what we should be pinning. So we're going to move into the next section of one of the questions we get a lot of is, should I still pin to multiple boards?
Right. And I think this is.
Yeah. Go
ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay. So this is where the time saving tips start coming in, right? Because that's a lot to keep track of, right? You have to go in today and then you have to go in and next day and pin it somewhere else. I think you should. Pinterest hasn't said otherwise. I listened to Jillian of Milo Tree. I listened to her recap of the Ad Thrive conference, and Enid from Pinterest was there. And according to Jillian, I mean, I wasn't there, but they were still saying to share it to relevant boards. So any relevant board that you have where the keywords support the pin and the content you're linking to, there.
One of the questions we did have for something you said that I wanted to pull up, this is from Carrie. She asks, so she's curious, how come you can't say Super Bowl? Why do you have to say the big game?
It's a trademark deal.
Yeah.
You just can't say it.
Did you ever, and this is another one.
I'm probably going to get sued. Don't turn me in.
For saying the name, yeah. So, but you ran into some problems with this because Marvel and DC own the trademark to superhero. And I remember when you had a podcast called Superheroes of Marketing, you were really freaked out because of that reason.
Yeah, I can't remember why that came to my attention.
They do own that. They own that. So,
they do own that word.
Isn't that crazy? Anyway. So,
it is really crazy.
So it's more of an SEO thing, I guess, Carrie, that, if you want your pins to go, use big game or game day or something like that to get your Super Bowl kind of content out there.
I know, but it's so... Oh, it's hard to resist using that word, but you can get in trouble.
I actually own the domain name Fuperbowl because it's a misspelling of it, and I always make AdSense every year off of that thing, so it's pretty funny.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. But so go ahead and let me see if there's some other questions.
Well, I wanted to see if you agreed with me.
Yeah,
are you still sharing things to all relevant boards?
Yeah, I do, and in fact, that's how. And I think we'll get into it with our special guest. Here in a minute, because I do schedule to multiple boards using Tailwind, and it just spreads my because somebody somebody may not be following my whole account. They may be following just a certain board, and they may see it this way. So that's why I
Yeah.
sprinkle it out to every relevant board that I have, maybe even some
Yeah,
that
and
aren't.
and I want to probably misquote our friend Jennifer Priest, but she
Mhm.
I can't remember what exactly it is, but it's something like OTIO, only touch it once with your pins. So yeah, you get all that work done, but you only want to deal with it once, which is where Tailwind comes in.
Right.
So this might be a good time to introduce our Tailwind tipper of the week.
All right, let's switch over to him, and
Okay.
I'll let you give an introduction.
Oh no, we can't hear you, Johnny. Unmute yourself.
Thank you. So I'll start again. My name is Gianni Welsh, and I am with the customer success team here at Tailwind. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about interval pinning. So that's going to be my Tailwind tip of the week. Just a brief intro. Interval pinning allows you to schedule your pins over a set period of time and to multiple boards. So Jeff and Elisa were just talking about that, and it's a really great feature to be able to kind of spread out your pins over time and do it all relatively quickly and in one sitting. So if you have a lot of content that you want to try to do all together, interval pinning is a great way to get that scheduled out, and it allows your content to stay up longer times, which improves engagement with your audiences, and just a lot of great little tidbits. So we're going to go through a quick demo with Jeff, if you want to pull up your screen.
Sure, just a second. Let me do that.
Yeah.
All right, there we are. So walk us through what you're doing here.
Yeah, so here you're at your drafts page in your Tailwind dashboard, and essentially what you'll do is whenever you're uploading a pin or a picture for whatever your content is for that day, you'll basically go, and then one thing to remember here is in order to access the interval pinning feature, you'll have to have at least 2 or more boards. So quick plug-in, if you have board lists, this is a great way to use that, so you don't have to individually type every single one. But if you wanted to just type in a couple boards or use a board list, that'd be great.
So I'll just click on blogging here. Oh, look, it
Yeah.
did them all at once. That's
Yeah.
the time-saving thing
Yeah.
right there. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's another great feature, but we'll stick to interval pinning. So you'll be able to go down now, and then you'll see use interval at the bottom there.
Okay. I'll click
And
on that.
once you click that, you'll have 3 different options. So you'll be able to see that you have open time slots, optimized, and then exact. So I'll give a quick description of what these mean. So the open time slots will basically place your pins in the first available time slot in your Tailwind schedule. And basically, this is a great option because you're able to create your schedule and stay within the same schedule that you've created while adding content to your queue. So that's kind of the open time slots. It's pretty much self-explanatory. It just finds the first available open time slot. The second one is the optimized option, and basically that allows you to make use of Tailwind's recommended pinning time. So Elisa kind of touched on this a little bit earlier with the smart schedule and how Tailwind kind of uses where you're located to create like the best optimized time with when your audience is most engaged. So it allows you to basically use that feature while still pinning outside of your recurring schedule. And this method allows you to use existing optimal time slots as guide markers to create new times. So that's the optimized option. And then the final one is exact. So yeah, what if you did want to post at an exact time during the day and your time slots don't have that one? Well, this option allows you to do that. So even if your Tailwind schedule doesn't show an available time slot, your pins will show up exactly at the time you choose. So this is a great option for scheduling a new pin without disrupting your already established pinning schedule. So those are the 3 types of the interval pinning that you can choose from. One thing to keep in mind is that you might see a lock or a clock icon on those pins, and basically the lock just demonstrates that it signifies that the pin will not be shuffled. So if you're trying to move around or use the shuffle feature, it'll stay locked in that. But if you want to, you can just click the lock icon and turn that off if you wanted to shuffle to a different time. So
cool.
one last thing that I wanted to leave you all with regarding interval pinning is that it's also super useful for ensuring that you don't violate group board rules. So since you have the freedom and the control to set up exactly how you want, you're able to space out your content and stay within the group board rules and have everything go out in a nice and organic flow. So that's my Tailwind tip of the week for you all. And I just wanted to thank Lisa and Jeff again for having me on here. And thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Nice.
Great
Thanks, Johnny.
walkthrough. I use that all the time. I use that feature all the time. So
Me too. Hey, Jeff, and I have a question for you too, Gianni, so don't go away. I go back and forth between how much interval time I want to go by. So in the example we were looking at, it was set at, I think it was one day might be the default.
Right.
I tend to go at like 5 or so. I don't have a fantastic reason for that. What do you do, Jeff?
it depends on how many boards I'm pinning to, really. So if I have if I have a board list of, so I have a ton of different social media boards. And so for that, I may just do one day. But if I'm doing like something that's doesn't have as much places to go, I'll spread that out. I don't know why either. I just think that makes more sense for me.
I know,
but that was one of the things. There's that slider we showed. Let me pull that back up because I want to show that off.
Yeah.
And Johnny, feel free to jump in on any of this. Let me find it here. So right up here, it says minimum time between each pin, and so you can drag it to all the way out to like 72 days. Like, oh my gosh. So, you can go to 1 day and 8 hours. I mean, how precise is that? So those are some options you can do. And I usually do 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. That's kind of my standard. But also you want to make sure if you want to, I always forget about this. And this is already says schedule first pin at February 26th. So I'm like, that's way too far out. So I usually click on that and go to tomorrow or, that same day, even a lot of times I'll do it when I'm setting it up. So those are two things you may want to play with as well when you're scheduling that. Would you say the same thing, Gianni?
Yeah, absolutely. And also one thing that we kind of have our members write in about being a little bit apprehensive with using it is that they think that it might be a little bit spammy, but actually being able to set the minimum time between when those go out to those different boards actually helps eliminate that. So yeah.
Yeah.
So Gianni, do you have any perspective on what's kind of the average people set? Or, it's kind of hard to notice, but I didn't know if you had a feel for it.
Using interval pinning?
Yeah. Well, what is the usual interval that people like to use?
I think for the most part, I've seen around 3 to 4 days on average. That's with the accounts that I've used. 3 to 4 days seems about average for most users.
Really? Interesting.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
Always good to know.
Well, thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Awesome tip. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Great job.
See you later.
See ya.
Great tips. I love interval pinning. We do have some questions, believe it or not.
Awesome.
So let me pull
I
some
believe
of these
it.
up. And so Carrie asked a great one, so I want to pull her question up. She goes,
wait a minute. She's asking, can Gianni replace us, right?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. They want all Gianni all the time. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll have him on again because he did a great job.
Yeah,
so
he did.
She goes, if you have a pin scheduled for a time, will it alert you that pin is already scheduled for that time? And so, Carrie, it depends on, if you're talking about interval pinning, what you set it at. So if you're going to a next available slot, which is one of the kind of options, it doesn't really matter. I don't know the answer for exact time. Do you know, Elisa?
I think you would have to have hundreds of pins or a really strange coincidence for that to happen, right? Because you can set a pin to go out at 10:23 a.m., 10:24 a.m. So for it to hit exactly that same time, I've never seen that happen before, but now you make me want to try it.
Right. Now she's going to try to break it. She's going to try to break it.
Yes, I will. So yeah, just for you. Thank you.
Let's see. There's some other. I hope and this is a great one. Angie is from YouTube. So if you guys didn't know, we are broadcasting live over on YouTube at the same time. She goes, how much time do you put in between each pin to different boards? And that's a great question. And it depends. It depends. We showed you how you can adjust that slider to do that. So it just depends on how much content you have, how much slots you have open. It really is.
How many boards Gianni
had a great. Yeah, and Gianni had a great point of look at your board. If you're doing to group boards, if that's something you want to continue doing, look at what the rules are, and you can adjust that slider to make sure you're not violating those rules if you're going to a group board, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, but it sounds like between the three of us, we said like you might go 1. Johnny notices 3 to 4. I tend to go around 5. It's kind of kind of one of those it depends answers.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other questions we have? Let me go through these because I want to make sure we have enough time to dive into some of our other topics, because I know we're going to have some questions about Smart Loop. So can I pin to the same board again? We kind of answered that. Yes, because.
Well, no, we didn't.
Oh, okay.
No. Because what we've talked about is, can I pin the same pin to all relevant boards?
Right.
So all
Yes.
the different boards. So can I pin it to the same board again? What do you think, Jeff?
It depends. I wouldn't do it. Now this is just me. So when I go to an account and I see that same pin on the recent pin, that's all I see is that same pin. That tells me they're not really active on Pinterest. They're just dumping and running. So I don't have any problem pinning to the same board again if I have enough content in between it. That's just me. That's my inner feelings. That's my gut. And so what are your thoughts on this?
Well, we have this thing called Smart Loop. Tailwind does. Yeah, that will allow you to save the same pin to the same board at longer intervals. So it's kind of like interval pinning on steroids. And the really great thing about it is that you can take that seasonal content. So let's say this year, this is the year you are really going to dive into seasonal content and really getting into the events and the way that they work on Pinterest. And you're going to make new pins for every recipe that you come out. It's going to have looks for all seasons, and they're going to be fantastic. So I'm very happy for you. But you don't want to have to remember to pin it again next year. And there does seem to be value in pinning the same pin to the same board at reasonable intervals. So pinning it when people are interested in it again. So not pinning your Thanksgiving recipe in April, right? But having it in Tailwind Smart Loop so that when, I think middle of June or something, Thanksgiving starts taking off, it can go out in June to the same board. And you don't have to remember it because you're off making other content, which is fantastic. But it's like what Jennifer Pre says, only touch it once. Like put it in Tailwind, in interval pinning, in Smart Loop, and then like the only thing you need to do is just keep an eye on the analytics.
True.
Yeah, then you're done.
Good.
Yeah,
Cool.
time saving. You gotta not be keeping these spreadsheets if you don't need to.
Yeah, that's what I love about Smart Loops.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna dive into Smart Loop because I know a lot of people have some Smart Loop questions, but we're gonna do that towards the end of the show. So the next question is: does it matter what time of day I pin?
Well, we kind of covered that one.
But
and
it doesn't really matter with Tailwind. I mean, if you're going like at the beginning of the week and doing all your scheduling in Tailwind, and and scheduling your content for the week, it really doesn't matter because Tailwind takes care of that for you. And they do have that smart scheduler, which Elisa mentioned, and you can tell me if this is a waste of time or not. So every once in a while, and I kind of do it kind of seasonally, I go back in and redo my smart schedule because I think things change. And that's kind of one of my kind of refreshing things. It may not matter much in the long run, but it just makes me feel better.
Well, but there are a million little things that we can do to give ourselves a tiny edge on Pinterest. So I feel like anything you can do, especially if it's something that easy, do it, right? So sometimes we see pins that are at the top of a search result for a term that we're looking for. And it has a terrible description and it's on a board with no description. We're like, how in the world? So like, does it even matter? Why am I working so hard? But when you know what adds up to success over time, like just do it. Right? Those things that happen are probably anomalies, and just give yourself the best chance you can. So I like that, Jeff. I feel like we're going to have to show that.
Okay.
How you do that.
Someday I do it. It's not really hard. I just go back and kind of delete it and start over and see what it says.
Okay.
Because I trust the geniuses. Don't tell them this. I trust the engineers over at Tailwind a lot more than I trust myself when it comes to the schedule.
I think that says a lot about your wisdom, Jeff.
Well, we'll see about that. So there are some great questions we've got that I want to pull up before we get too much further. Heidi asked this question: with optimized time feature and interval pinning, will those pins still show up on your schedule?
Yeah, so they will show up in your scheduled pins. It won't add a new time slot for ongoing pinning, but it will show up in that.
And it's not locked. If you do it the other way, it's locked, isn't it? If you do it, if you can do the exact time. I'm not sure.
I think each interval, I think like the first one, I think they are locked when you use interval, because what we don't want to happen is for you to shuffle your cue
Right, exactly.
and then have all three end up next to each other. So it's
Which you
kind of
can
a protection against that.
Right, which is cool. And you can also, if for some reason you need to move it, you're not like locked doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, I can't change anything. You
Yeah.
can actually go
Yeah,
and
sorry.
like what Gianni said and go in and click that and unlock it if you need to move it for any reason. So wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that was one too. And
Yeah, but you know what I would say again? Like, don't touch it more than you need to.
right.
Like, just let it go, unless there's
Right.
some really good reason.
Right.
Because
So here's-
we're all about saving time here.
That's right. And so Candace asked this question, which I think is relevant. Is the scheduled time only available in the Pro Tailwind accounts?
No. So you can do all these things on the free trial. So the free trial is 100 pins that you can schedule. And you can take as long as you want, or you can do them as quick as you want. But yeah, you can use that feature.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up this from Katerina. She goes, no to spreadsheets. So she's a woman after my own heart right there. Yes. So, and Carrie goes, I agree. Who's got time for that? That's true. No more
totally.
spreadsheets for us. So that's what's great about it. So let's go ahead and move into the next section. So we'll make sure we have plenty of time. There's some questions that I want to pull up at the end that I thought were really good. So does it matter what day of week I pin? We kind of talked about that. It really doesn't really matter. I use the smart schedule that Tailwind comes up with by reading my algorithm. Interval pinning, we've talked about what interval pinning is. So let's go into Smart Loop. So the difference between interval pinning and Smart Loop, why don't you break that down for us?
Okay, so interval pinning, you say, I want it to go to these 3 boards 5 days apart or whatever, and it will happen once. With Smart Loop, it continues. So let's say you have a board for your fall content, and you know every fall, this pin seems to pick up. So I'm going to send it out once every fall because I want my new followers to get a chance to see it. Maybe they've never seen it before. Maybe the previous ones didn't see it. But you know, like that time of year is when that content's coming up. So you want to put it in your Smart Loop and then not have to remember next year. Like Katerina, we're getting rid of spreadsheets. But the thing that I really love about Smart Loop, and by the way, when you go in and set them up now, there are safeguards in there so that you can't pin them too close together, because we know nobody wants to get suspended for spam on Pinterest. So I think the recommendation is the shortest interval is every 3 months, so that'd be once a season. But for most of your content, really, you're probably going to want it to go out like once a year, right? So once to every relevant board in that season when it's applicable. But the analytics in Smart Loop to me are fantastic. I love them because I can see an overview of, okay, for this loop, here are the number of repins per pin. And then I just go through the pins and I see, okay, well, this pin is getting a lot more repins. I'm gonna leave it in there and let it keep going. But this one has just completely died off. So I'm gonna take that one out. I'm probably gonna redesign the pin and put it back in and see if I can get some more action out of that.
That's a great
How are you using it?
That's the kind of the way
similar?
I do it too, is I use it to trickle out content for my boards as much as I possibly, especially my content. I don't use Smart Loop. I think we may want to say that is I use Smart Loop and just for my content. I don't do it for like,
that makes sense.
No matter how much I like Elisa, I don't put her in Smart Loop. I'm sorry. I use it just for my content. So like my blog posts going out. So I'm always constantly seeding my content out. It's an easy way to do that. That being said, I still use tribes like nobody's business. I still schedule other people's content. But for Smart Loop is mostly for my content. So we probably, So one of the questions I want to bring up is from Fab. She says, let's see here. She goes, should I delete a pin that's not performing too well in Smart Loop?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Use
those analytics?
Absolutely use the analytics, because what you don't want Pinterest to see is, oh, this person keeps sending this unengaging content. That doesn't seem like a good thing, right?
That's a good point, because I do not put content that I've created that didn't do well back into Smart Loop. I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll create another pin, pointing to that content with a different look and feel to it. And if that works well, I'll put it in Smart Loop. In fact, that's what we do with Kim Garst, is we have all that content going out. I think you've shared this in an article before for Tailwind, but for every one of her blog posts, we make 5 different images right at the beginning. And we share all those, and we use interval pinning for those, and we put them all up in tribes. We put one up in tribes, and then whichever one works the best, that's the one we put into Smart Loop. So for us, that's working really well.
Okay, cool. You kind of alluded to or hinted at our last question, our time-saving question is.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. It was a segue that now I've messed up. But the 80-20 rule, 20-80 rule.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm gonna let you take this one because I'll try to stay off my soapbox.
So you're talking about sharing 80% of other people's content and 20% your own?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I did that for a long time, and I still probably do more other people's content than mine, but as my content catalog continues to grow, that changes. So, and I know you think it doesn't really matter sharing other people's content. It's just something nice to do. I still like to do it because I want to serve what my audience, I think they want. And one of the things I like to look at to know that is on Tailwind, I look at what board is doing the best at that time. And I'm like, some reason my audience really is liking my, Pinterest tips board. I better put some more content out that way. And sometimes I can't create that much content, so I will share Elisa's amazing Pinterest tips content. And so that's how I kind of do it. I don't really have a set ratio. I think it's kind of loosely kind of that. But for like Kim, it's mostly her content compared to other people's,
totally,
just because she has so much. And so it really, to me, it really depends on how much content you have. That's what I think.
Yeah, so I got a really nice reply to the invite for this show from somebody saying, normally I pin a lot of other people's content and just a little of my own, but when I notice that when I go away on vacation, I only make time to share my own content, and I see my traffic increase tremendously. What's up with that? Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, well, yeah, like pinning other people's content isn't going to get more traffic to your website, which is really what we want Pinterest for. Mm-hmm. So I share other people's content. Sure, I do. And especially for Tailwind, a lot of people write nice things about Tailwind. So we share that. We share people that we just want to support, like Jeff and other people. But the big reason we're on Pinterest as businesses is to bring in traffic to our own sites. So those 80-20, 20-80 rules, because sometimes you hear them completely backwards, those are really, I think, were developed by Pinterest teachers who are trying to help new people understand Pinterest. Right? So they kind of need the numbers. That's where like, how many times a day should I pin? Well, there is no magic number, but people kind of need that when they're starting out. So if you feel like you need a number, cool. Like,
so I'm going to push back a little bit on this because I want to float this to you. So the other reason I share other people's content is because I want to them to share my content. So
does it work?
I think in the long run it does. So the reason you share my content is because I share your content.
Oh, I thought it was just nice.
Well, maybe a little bit, but I think it's mostly because I help share your content. And so I still think that's a lot to do with it. I mean, I think that's what the backbone of Tribes is that we want to put our content out there and we share other people's because we want ours shared. And I think I can get in front of a greater number of people who may have not seen stuff from Manly Pinterest Tips or Jeff C before if I shared it to your board, because some people may not even,
you're right.
And that's the reason I do it. One, it's a nice community thing to do, and others because it really does, I think, help get your content out.
Yeah, you know how much I hate to admit that you're right, but yes, you are absolutely right. I
gotta bring up this content because she agrees with me. So Casey says, yes, Jeff, it's a sharing game. So that's the reason I do it. So
Okay, that totally makes sense. I think that but doing that in a vacuum, like to say,
Right.
if I happen to share someone's pin, I know it's going to come back to me and they're going to share mine. No, I don't think that works. But like you said, tribes, right?
Right.
So I think we're going to have to do a whole thing on tribes someday soon because
Yeah.
they're really amazing and powerful and people love them for good reason because yeah, you get your pins in front of a whole new audience.
And you
And
see
you
who, if you're in a tribe, they're not sharing your pins. You see that number right up there, and you can
Mhm.
leave and go to something else. I want to pull up this comment
Yep.
from Dama. She goes, "Do you guys still use group boards for your profiles? Jeff, to use it for your clients' profiles?" And this is what I do: is I do not use
Okay.
group boards anymore. The only group boards are the ones that I have created, and they're usually with one or two people. I
Mhm.
use tribes for this purpose for my clients and for everything else. So, Kim, we're not really on any group boards anymore. I do that all with tribes because her content gets up there. She shares their contents. I share, they share ours. And so, to me, it's like what group boards really wanted to be. But now you have all these analytics. You see what's working. You see how many people are sharing your pins. You see the top people who are sharing stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, Elisa's sharing all these. I'm going to share hers because she's such a good community member.
Oh,
And
I am.
I just love tribes. I think they're if you're not using them, you need to do that. And they're pretty much. I mean, for other. So I don't even look on Pinterest much when I'm sharing what I call third party content, which is other people's content. It's all from tribes. There's
Yeah.
once in a while I'll
Same
share
here.
something I see, but it's mostly all from tribes.
Yeah, I mean, Pinterest did not create group boards as a way for marketers to get more distribution for their pins. That was a trick that marketers figured out
Yeah,
and
we
ruined
we
everything.
run
As
everything. Yeah, we're grubby hands.
really do. We do. But what they're meant for is wonderful. So we have you and I are in some secret group boards for some keto recipes. So
Hmm.
those are great because you have some additional features in there where you can like comment on stuff and add reactions to things that makes sense when you are in a group with people you actually know. Like it is not about self promotion. And even tribes, like, yeah, you get distribution for your content, but I also have just discovered some really cool people.
Good point.
Like it brings in that community aspect that is harder to find on Pinterest. Maybe you can, but it like to me it's easier in tribes.
Right. I want to bring up some more questions based on
Okay.
this, and this is a great question for Bab. She goes, "Is it offense to leave a tribe and join another?" That's a great question.
No,
No,
it's not.
do it. If they're not sharing your content, get out of there.
Yeah,
Go to
or
another
if
one.
you feel like it's not being managed the way you want or you're not loving the content in there, absolutely go find one that works for you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I want to bring up some other general questions, not so much on tribes, but I
Okay.
think some good points. Wendy goes, "What can I do about failed pins in Tailwind?"
Okay. Right
Because that has
into
to do with your
CS.
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes, and I am not in CS, so I may be getting this wrong, but my impression is
NCS, what are
sometimes
you talking about?
customer success in Tailwind,
Okay.
like Gianni.
Yeah.
Gianni can help you with this. Because sometimes something will break, right? The communication between Tailwind and Pinterest, and it just like ooh, falls out. You can reschedule those. If you see it happening over and over again, though, like write in help@tailwindapp.com
And to be
or
honest,
write in the dashboard.
I have them happen not all the time, but they happen quite a bit. It's
They
just,
happen.
and so I just hit the reschedule thing. To me,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. I haven't ever had to call into CS because or customer service because they're,
No, you just
not
message me
working.
on Facebook like, hey, it's
Yeah, it's like,
broken.
Elisa, what's going on? I want this to be fixed. So, here's a great question from Heidi. I want to pull this one up. She goes, you mentioned that Pinterest does not show all of our followers our content. Could you talk more about that? I was not aware. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were to say pin 100 pins in a day, and one of your followers went to their following tab, not your 100 pins wouldn't show up there, right? Because Pinterest does not ever want to make things a bad or make any experience feel like a spammy experience on Pinterest. So there are safeguards in place to keep that down. So I don't want to resurrect that whole first 5 thing, but I think that's where it came from. That the Pinterest just does not want to flood any feed or any search result with one person's content. So they're going to trickle it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's another question from Katerina. She goes, is the follower feed popular? I never look at mine. I use my home feed mainly.
I'm with you. Is it Catriona? I'm
Oh, maybe
sorry
I've
if
been
we're
saying it
butchering
wrong.
your
Yeah,
name.
I'm so
Man,
sorry.
sorry.
Let us know.
Uh,
It's Elisa's
yeah,
fault. She should
please.
have told me.
Right. But I don't. I only use mine out of curiosity or if I'm writing something about it. But and usually when I go in mine, to be honest with you, when I go in mine, I'm like, why is that showing up? And then I go unfollow people.
Mm.
How about you, Jeff?
Once in a while, I just kind of out of curiosity, but I don't use it very much at all. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I tell you, I'm in tribes
Okay.
all the time. That's where I spend a lot of time when I'm in Tailwind.
Yeah.
That's where unless I'm in Pinterest, just being goofy, but looking at stuff. But most of the time, I'm in tribes. So Carrie gave us. She says this is what she does. She goes, I review tribes quarterly and then leave if they aren't sharing my content. So that's a great. I like how she's saying I'm doing something at a specific time, kind of like what I do with going back and redoing my schedule seasonally. She goes quarterly and goes, hey, what's working, what's not, and I think that's how you really get success on Pinterest is by reviewing what's working, seeing what's doing, and then make a plan from that. So I love that, Carrie. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
So let's see. Let's see what else we have. Do you have anything else you want to follow up? Oh, we want to make sure. I digress and didn't say this before. It's like you want to make sure that you want to go to download this awesome guide from Tailwind at bit.ly/pin planner unleashed. Tons of stuff there. Tips to make Pinterest work better. They're going to be updating
it's all about
this.
seasonality.
Yeah, it's all about seasonality. It's going to be what you should promote. We've been talking a lot about this small effort, big impact kind of change. This guide is full of that. So make sure you go download it at bit.ly/pin planner unleashed, all lowercase, all smashed together.
All smashed together. Hey, Jeff, did you know that when Pinterest analyzed 10,000 pin creatives, they found that adding, leaning into seasonal and everyday moments increased online sales by 20%.
That doesn't surprise me because it floods your feed. I totally don't know. I'm really excited to see how this year seasonal video pins are going to work because I think that's so new. I'm really interested to see some data on that. I'm sure they're going to push something out about that because they're all in on video. So
oh yeah, they are.
See that.
Ooh, do you have the new video analytics?
You like on a pin? Like each pin?
No, like in your dashboard. So there are analytics now. There's overview, audience, and video. It's really cool. You can see how much total video watch time.
Yeah, I have seen that. I can see that on individual pins.
You can, but there's a whole dashboard now.
Oh, I have to go play with that.
Pretty
That's really cool.
sweet. It is new. It says new right on it.
Okay. So here's a great question. This is going to be our final one as we wrap things up.
Okay.
This is from Debbie, and she has a great point. And she goes, should we upgrade our tribes to pay more than the 30 pins a month and skip the group boards? Now, we're a little biased, but
slightly.
I don't, like I said, I don't use group boards anymore. And I love having more tribes than what I pay for the extra ones. And I usually, my clients, if we start filling up, if we can find tribes that, because you can search for tribes and find the ones that you think will work for you and test them out and that kind of stuff. If we find more than what we have with just the regular tribes the amount of tribes that we have, we will pay for that because it is so valuable to us. Yeah. And that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, I say yes, of course, too. But, I mean, honestly, I would max them out. Like, max it out and see if it's working for you. And if it is, by all means, why wouldn't you? But just go ahead and use the free to the max and for a month or so, and then make your decision.
Carrie says, if ones aren't working, leave, and then you have an open slot. So it's going to be up to you to decide what, where that value is. How many of your shares do you think that board needs to be giving you for the amount of that you're putting in there and sharing? So it's going to be kind of an individual basis to make sure that it's working for you because some of them are huge. There's some huge tribes out there, and your content can be lost in that. So you have to find a balance between what's a lot of eyeballs and the share. So there's kind of an art a little bit to it. And like Elisa said, we'll probably do a show soon just on tribes because we're so keen on it and we have so much fun with it. So we'll have to do that shortly. So yeah. With that, Elisa, do you have any final say? thanks everybody for watching today. You guys have asked some great questions, and we'll try to follow up down below as well.
I would just like to tease out that we are working on something.
Oh my gosh, come on.
Well, no, I'll give a little more detail. So something that we have recently noticed is that people have issues with photography. So people who are trying to sell their own products, or people who are lifestyle bloggers who are, say, trying to take a picture of their kitchen remodel, it seems like there is a real challenge with getting composition right, lighting right, for either Pinterest or Instagram. So we're thinking about offering something to help with that in an affordable way, because we don't want to tell people to go out and spend $10,000 on camera equipment and lighting. Right. But I would just like to know in the comments if that's interesting to you, and like what you would want to learn in a Facebook Live or a webinar or anything like that, because
like how to use our, so you're talking about like how to use our phone camera to
use your
take great
smartphone, like is there inexpensive lighting equipment, or like just whatever it is you're like, basically what problems are you having taking photos to use on Pinterest and Instagram?
Yes, let us know in the comments, because we want to make something just for you guys. So
we do.
This will be exciting, because I think I know where she's going with this. So I'm excited. That was a little Halloween cackle.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be awesome, because that is something I think everybody can learn from. Even if you're a professional photographer, there's always something you can be learning about composition or color or whatever. So I'm excited about that. And with that, that's our show, everybody. Thanks so much for watching and listening today. Do not forget to go to our special download and pick that up at bit.ly/Pin Planner Unleashed. That's Pin Planner Unleashed. And with that, we'll see you guys and talk to you next time. Thanks for watching and listening.
Bye.
Bye.